I'm here today with Moreland faculty member Lili Jackson. Lili lives in Virginia in the United States and focuses her work with our candidates in modules 4, 5, and 6 of the Teach Now Teacher Preparation Program. Lili, thank you so much for being with me today.
I'm so excited to be here and to talk about this topic.
Well, let's start by talking about your journey. Can you tell us about your journey into education and what you're doing professionally?
Yeah, so I got my bachelor's in English, and I thought I wanted to do journalism, and that didn't really pan out the way that I was thinking it would. So I didn't really know what to do for a bit, but I had always enjoyed working with kids. I'd worked in a daycare. After college, it was kind of recommended to me by a family member to look into teaching. My sister was a teacher. So that's how I ended up getting my master's at George Mason and ended up in one of the bigger school systems in the country. So with that, I was classroom teacher for 8 years, and I taught grades 1 through 6, which has been interesting and really helps me know where the students are going. When a friend told me about Moreland, I was just really interested because you can still have an impact on the kids and have an impact on the teachers and feel like through clinical practice, feel like you're actually helping create these teachers that are going to be fantastic and help students and engage them and really make their learning effective.
Well, when I joined the faculty of Moreland University, it was to have that impact on a greater number of students by working with coaching and supporting the teachers in our teacher preparation program. Tell us, how did you come to work with Moreland University and what inspired you to join the faculty?
Yeah, I had a friend who had a friend that went through the program. So the idea to work with adults that, are choosing to be in a program, choosing to be in a classroom was really interesting to me. So, and I just think it's so fascinating to meet these people from all over the world, to hear about these different schools, things in the news that I might have missed about these different countries. So I just really enjoy kind of giving back in that way where I'm learning about all these things and helping them change their instruction to maybe be more student centered than other schools that are in that country to really make sure we're engaging students.
It's so interesting that you would share that because it seems that you came to us as an expert educator to join our faculty as a result of a community connection, that you knew one of the folks who went through the program and as a result decided that you wanted to be part of this movement. So thank you for joining our community and sharing your expertise.
Yeah.
Tell us, can you tell us one story or one interaction with a candidate since you've been with Moreland University that's inspired you or that's really connected to your internal why?
Mod 8 is so neat in that you can really see that growth. It's 12-week program. So when you see those candidates do that baseline video and then later on see them, change their instruction based on their mentor, my feedback. So actually last week I had a candidate that's in Vietnam where they're a lot more, kind of lecture style. The desks are all facing the front of the room. Like that, I had her stop. And one of the things I always say is, whoever's talking is learning. And she actually turned around and she said that to her students. She was like, I want to make sure when I'm in here that we're really focusing on your conversations, you all talking, so you're learning. And I was just like, oh my gosh, golden moment. So, and I think too, in that kind of environment in Vietnam, that's not maybe something that they're used to doing all the time now. So that was just really, really exciting for me to kind of see her take that on and realize how important it was and how engaged the students were in that lesson to be able to be talking about all those things they were learning. It was persuasive writing. So
Well, never has it been more important to be culturally responsive in your instruction as an educator than now when you're working with teachers around the world. Thanks for sharing that. So we're currently focused on promoting and activating student engagement through choice in learning as well as small group instruction. Based on your studies and the experiences that you've had as an educator, what are some strategies that teachers can use to promote student engagement in the classroom?
I come from a school system with a lot of diversity. And so, I mean, of course, the first thing is you really need to know who your students are. We focused on morning meeting a lot, and that really dives into, their backgrounds, their culture, the things that they enjoy. So I think first, using those interests whatever way you can, like the simple way is like adding student names to a word problem or an activity that they do. John went to Taekwondo on Friday. Those little things can make them just really excited about the learning and kind of being included in that. But also, there's been so much development with our book choice. So in small group or in mentor texts that are really more inclusive of these different cultures. Like one of my favorites is My Name is Yoon, about a girl who moves to America, or Too Many Tamales. They have a lot of students that are from Hispanic background. So those things are so easy to include now that we didn't really have access to a few years ago. So I think that's really important. But also technology. Technology is just such a great way to be meeting those student needs and that engagement. Things like Kahoot are always something that I see in, Mod 5, or, we've always used a lot of programs in my county, like Imagine Learning, which is more focused on language arts, ST Math, because, in those small groups, you're not always the one meeting with them, right? You might every day, but they also need to be doing something engaging when they're not with you that they can be independent in. But just those student center strategies, because, like I said, they have to be talking, they have to be doing the learning, and they have to be choosing, what they want to do. And so giving them those options that are all going to be effective in meeting their needs and continuing to develop their education are really important.
I'd love to know more. Where in the Teach Now program do you see effective tools and strategies for student engagement?
Mod 4 is so great because you're really focusing on the how to get to know your students, and then to be able to kind of mold them to reach those norms and expectations you have to be effective in the classroom. But Mod 5 is so interesting too, because there's so many different ways to give an assessment. Always thinking about what is the data I want, not what's the assessment going to look like. Once you know the data you want, then you can work backwards to figure out what that'll look like, through discussion questions, making sure you're differentiating. So you're reaching those language learners, those special education students through, maybe they're doing an oral assessment with you, or maybe it's written, or, maybe it's on the iPad. So I think that one is really neat, because it used to be forever that you sat down and did a paper pencil assessment. And we know that isn't inclusive anymore. It's not reaching all of our students. We're not really knowing what they know. They need to have other ways to show us what they know.
So there's engagement in terms of the way students participate in the classroom, but there's also the considerations of engagement in terms of the way students learn and even demonstrate their learning in assessments. And
Yeah.
just for community members who may not remember, Module 4 is managing the learning environment, and Module 5 is student assessments. Well, Lili, it was wonderful to chat with you today, to learn about your journey into education and to Moreland University, and to hear some strategies that our community members can use to help activate student engagement. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Joey.